Joining us today is Lauren, who had surgery here with Dr. Kirkpatrick. How are you doing today?
Good, I'm good.
Good. So I wanted to talk to you about a surgery that you recently had. What was that surgery that you had done?
So I had a rhinoplasty done. So I had my nose done. Yeah, it was pretty awesome how, I was very surprised at how awesome, everything went. It was great.
So you had it done approximately end of October,
Yeah.
and we're coming into the end of November now. So healing has been literally less than a few weeks.
Yeah, the swelling, it went down like that. It was great. I was very surprised.
What made you want a rhinoplasty?
So, actually, when I was in college, I broke my nose falling off a bike. And ever since then, I just felt like I had just kind of a little bit of a hump on my nose. And I don't know if it was actually from the break or if it was just from my genetics and it just didn't show up until, in my 20s or whatever. So, whatever it came from, I had a little hump on my nose. And it was just something that I personally wanted to, have fixed. So, yeah.
And since the surgery, have you noticed a change in the way that you feel?
Yes, definitely. I love it. I love my side profile now. I know that, I'm never looking at myself from the side, really, but just, having that little, and it was such a, minor change. I love it. I really feel so much more confident.
That's actually one of the questions that I was going to say, because you said it was a minor change. Was that something that maybe you were a little bit fearful of to begin with, that it was going to be a really drastic change?
Honestly, I wasn't necessarily nervous about it being a super drastic change because, I knew what I wanted and I knew that Dr. Kirkpatrick was, he's really good at what he does. He's, I've seen some of the videos on Snapchat that y'all do, and I knew that, he's great at what he does. So I really wasn't that nervous. I knew that if I told him exactly what I want, that it was going to turn out exactly how I wanted it. So, yeah, I wasn't too nervous going into it that it was going to be some huge drastic change, unless I wanted it to be. So,
right. And he kind of guided you in the right direction as well.
He did, yeah. He gave me a lot of tips that I wouldn't have necessarily considered. So, yeah, he definitely helped me kind of figure it out. So.
He's definitely got the experience and the years of cosmetic surgery behind him. So,
yeah.
I think that helps immensely too. As far as the procedure goes, on a scale of 1 to 10, honestly, how painful would you say it was?
Oh gosh, it was not bad at all. I was, actually, I think that was probably the thing I was most worried about with the surgery is how much it was going to hurt, right when I woke up. But I had pretty much no pain at all, at all. After I woke up, I felt pretty good. I just kind of laid there, and I didn't have to take, I think that night I maybe took one of my pain pills just in case because I was nervous I'd wake up the next morning and be hurting. But after that, I was like, I don't even think I needed that much. So I didn't take anything after that except for some Tylenol just for a little bit of a headache. But yeah, I felt great. So on a scale of 1 to 10, from your original question, probably a 2 or a 3. It was nothing.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if somebody was nervous about getting this kind of procedure, what would your advice be to them?
Don't be. It was really nothing. It was such a breeze. Yeah.
And the results are phenomenal, obviously.
Oh gosh, yeah. Yeah, I'm surprised by, how much better I feel and how much of a difference I noticed with such little, the transition was just nothing, I woke up, I felt great and everything was fine, I just went about with my life.
What would you say was the hardest part about the entire procedure from start to healing, right down to now, from the beginning to now?
The most difficult part for me probably was being able to, not being able to wash my face after the procedure because, you can wash your face, but, it's hard to, get around all the bandages and, not get them wet. I ended up actually using one of these little cotton pads that was, had these little bumps on it for, taking nail polish off or whatever, and it worked really great.
How did other people, your fiancé, how did he feel about you getting this kind of surgery?
He was a little nervous about me getting it. I mean, obviously, he didn't want me to do it because, he's a very sweet man, and he says, I don't want you to change anything about yourself. You're beautiful just the way you are, But he also knew that it was something that, happened before I met him, and that, I want to change, and it would make me feel better for myself. So, I mean, obviously, he wasn't going to say, you can't do this, but he was nervous about it. But I think he was mostly nervous because he sees people, like Michael Jackson, they come out with their nose looking a lot different, after a lot of surgeries. And I just think that his expectations were a little different, like of how it was going to turn out. And I knew, knowing Dr. Kirkpatrick and how good he is at what he does, I knew that it wasn't going to be some, drastic, like horrid looking thing. So I just tried to reassure him, and he actually, now that it's all said and done, he loves it. He thinks it looks great, and yeah, so.
Well, it's funny because you even saying that, looking at you, nobody would know until they saw the before and after.
Nobody's been able to tell other than people that I've told, and then they're like, oh, you know what, maybe I can kind of see, and they're like, it looks great. But yeah, nobody's been able to tell, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So nobody can really tell, and you feel 10 times better about yourself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And more confident.
Yes.
Which
exactly.
I think is a huge thing for people, because there are a lot of people out there that, don't want cosmetic surgery. They're so worried, like you said, that it's going to go wrong or come out differently, but that small change has made you feel completely different. What about people that are scared of the anesthesia? What would your advice be to them?
It's just one of those things. I mean, being in medical school, like, I knew that it wasn't something I was, really worried about, because I know that the training that those kinds of people have to go through, they go through a lot of training, and they've been doing the job for a long time, and under a lot of different circumstances too. I mean, when you're in an office-based situation, it's a lot easier for them, it's a controlled environment, whatever, and they're used to, all sorts of situations, and I knew going into it that they're trained professionals. They know what they're doing, and so I wasn't really worried about it. And but for people that are, I mean, really, it's not something to be overly concerned about. I mean, it's really, that's the best part. They're the ones that make you feel great, So they know what they're doing, and yeah.
Right, because it's better to be asleep because you literally wake up and it's done.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have to worry.
Yeah.
And swelling and bruising wasn't too much of an issue for you personally?
No, not really. I had a little bit of bruising under my eyes for probably about a week, and then within 2 weeks at least, I'm sure the swelling was gone, at least from what I noticed. So yeah, it wasn't bad at all.
Well, considering it's only been 4 weeks since your surgery and you look amazing.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even know that you had surgery 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's crazy how it turned out. I'm so happy. I love it. So.
And also, you have a wedding coming up.
I do have a wedding coming up. Thank you.
How exciting. Does that make you feel a lot better knowing that?
Yes. And it's going to sound really funny, but, in those classic wedding pictures when you're looking at each other, it's just, I know that my side profile now is going to look exactly how I want it, because they always get those pictures from the side, and I know, like, it does make me feel a lot more confident going in, and I'm really excited about it, yeah, so.
Oh, that's wonderful. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, of course, that would make a huge difference for
you,
anyway.
Yeah, they always like to get those pictures, and that's just something, like, the first thing I look at, like, when we had our engagement pictures done, looking at the pictures from the side where we're looking at each other, I'm like, everybody's like, oh, how sweet, and all I see is my nose, and I'm like, oh, God, but my nose. So now that, I've got it fixed, like, it just makes me feel 100% better, and I'm just, I'm really excited.
So knowing that your wedding was literally 6 weeks away from having surgery when you had it, were you worried about bruising or swelling?
Actually, that was something that I talked to Dr. Kirkpatrick about before I got the surgery. I did tell him, I was like, I do have my wedding coming up in like 6 or 7 weeks, whatever it was at the time, and do you think that, I'll be wedding ready by then? And, he made sure, he's like, yeah, we'll get you in on this day, and by then you should be fine. And I trusted him. I know that, he's done this, I don't even know how many times, tons of times. He knows, how long it's going to take, to start looking good again. And I trust his judgment. He knows what he's doing. So I wasn't really worried that much. I knew that I would be fine by then, and I am, so that's good.
I know. I'm so excited for you.
Thanks. Yeah.
What would you say to people that are being told, don't get cosmetic surgery. No, don't do it. You look fine the way you are. Because I'm sure people told you that before you went into this.
Yeah. To me, the way I see it is if you're doing it because it's something that, other people have made you're self-conscious about. I feel like you have to do it for yourself. Like, if you're trying to do it because somebody else is saying, oh, you have this wrong with you, or you need to fix this or that, like, that's never a good reason to get something done, because it's not based, off of what you want, and it's not something that is going to permanently affect you. Whereas if you're, like, worried about, like, for me, it was something that nobody noticed my nose. Nobody, ever said, oh, you have a big nose or whatever. It's just something that I noticed, and it made me feel better having it done. Then I think that's, when like, okay, it's okay to do this. You know what I mean?
No, I think that's really important, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to ask you about that, because I do know of people that are we're our biggest critic. We criticize ourselves the worst. But I think it is important to know that you can get this done if it's going to impact you, like you said it has. And I'm so excited for you. You look amazing.
Thank you.
So if you guys have any questions or you like this video, definitely leave a comment in the comment section below. And feel free to call us with any questions if this is something you're interested in.